Let's start with textures. When we talk about texture memory on mobile, the most conventional influencing factors are straightforward: resolution, compression format, read-write setting, Mipmap usage. These four parameters account for the majority of texture-related memory behavior. All of the testing I'm about to show was conducted on an Oppo R17 device, a lower mid-tier smartphone, running Unity 2022.3.60, which at the time of testing was the latest stable release. Our source asset was a standard 1:1024 by 1024 texture. Nothing unusual. Default import settings. From there, we systematically varied compression formats and measured three metrics: average loading time from AssetBundle, runtime memory usage, AssetBundle size. Compression format. We tested the most common mobile formats: Alpha 8 ASTC 4K4, 5.5, 6TeX etc 4-bit etc2 4-bit etc2 8-bit etc, Crunch etc2. We also tested RGBA half and RGBA 32, but because their data footprint is dramatically larger, we plotted them separately to keep the chart readable. Now let's extract the meaningful insights. From an industry adoption perspective, based on our annual report and blog data, ASTC has clearly become dominant. Today, on mobile, the most common compression families are ASTC and residual ETC variants. But ETC usage is declining. One reason is technical limitation. For example, ETC2 8-bit requires texture dimensions to be multiples of 4 to compress correctly. ASTC, on the other hand, offers much more flexibility in block size selection, and its hardware support is now extremely widespread. So from a compatibility and flexibility standpoint, ASTC is the obvious choice. But when we look at actual metrics, loading time, runtime memory, and asset bundle size, the story becomes more nuanced. ASTC behaves as expected in memory footprint. That part is predictable. However, ASTC 4.4 in particular shows noticeably higher loading time and larger bundle size than some formats with lower compression ratios. So while ASTC 4.4 looks excellent at runtime, you must also consider package residency cost and loading overhead. In practice, many mobile-only textures can safely use higher compression ratios, ASTC 6.6, 8x8, sometimes even 12x12, without a meaningful visual downgrade, especially for stylized art or secondary model textures. We've seen this work successfully across many production projects. Now let's briefly look at RGB32 and RGBA half. These are essentially uncompressed formats. On mobile, they are almost always too expensive, yet we still see them appear in certain rendering workflows, terrain, light maps, or high-precision pipelines. For mobile platforms, these formats introduce substantial cost, not just in memory, but also in bandwidth. Remember, when these textures are sampled during rendering, more bits per pixel means more data transferred per fragment. That increases GPU bandwidth consumption, which directly affects thermals and battery life. So the impact extends beyond memory alone. Now let's talk about read-write enabled. From a memory perspective, this behaves exactly as expected. Enabling read-write duplicates the texture data, one copy for the GPU, one for the CPU, so runtime memory roughly doubles. That part is straightforward. What's interesting, however, is that while asset bundle size remains nearly unchanged, loading time actually decreased slightly when read-write was enabled. This behavior appeared only with textures. When we later tested meshes, which also have a read-write option, the loading time increased as expected. So this is an interesting anomaly. It doesn't directly translate into a recommended optimization strategy, but it's a reminder that real-world profiling sometimes reveals counterintuitive behavior. Now let's look at Mipmaps. This part aligns closely with theoretical expectations. A 1024 ASTC 4:4 texture without Mipmaps consumes roughly 1 MB. When Mipmaps are enabled, the additional levels follow a geometric series, 1 + 1/4 + 16, which sums to approximately 4/3 of the base level, so memory increases by roughly 33%. Asset bundle size increases, loading time increases accordingly. So yes, Mipmaps introduce measurable overhead across all three metrics. But here's something important. Mipmaps aren't just about visual quality. They also influence rendering performance, texture sampling cost, bandwidth efficiency, and cache behavior. So while they increase memory footprint, they can improve overall rendering stability in certain scenarios. We'll revisit that idea later when we discuss broader rendering optimization strategies. So to summarize this section, Texture optimization on mobile is no longer just about compress as much as possible. It's about balancing runtime memory, package size, loading time, and GPU bandwidth. Understanding those trade-offs is what separates theoretical optimization from production-ready decisions.